It is 6:30, and so I will call this regular meeting of the Board of Safety to order. For the record, today is Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020. We are in the City Hall auditorium, and as I said, it's 6:30 now, 6:31. So the first item on our agenda this evening is I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held August 5th, 2020.
So moved.
Thank you. Everybody's joining their voice. These things really have consistent. Is that Commissioner? Oh, that was Commissioner Bingham, and that was seconded by Commissioner McLeod. Questioning that motion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 2, I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to CGS section 1-200, subsection 6, subsection A, to discuss the promotion of police department personnel, and in that invite Chief Baldwin, and I guess that's it.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Benedetto, Commissioner McLeod, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I will continue. Okay. So, to come out of executive session, I will need a motion to enter into open session.
So moved. Second.
That's who made the motion? Okay. Second by Commissioner Bingham. And all in favor?
Aye.
And for the record, it is 6:39 p.m. Item 4. Is there a motion from the floor with regard to promotion item 4?
Yes, I make a motion to promote the officer to sergeant.
All right, so I have a motion from Commissioner McElroy to promote Brendan Kelly to the office of sergeant in the Torrington Police Department. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner McLeod. Are there questions or comments, or Chief, if you want to make your comments?
Good evening, everybody. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Officer Brandon Kelly. A little bit about Brandon. He was appointed to the department back on March 22nd, 2010. He's a 10-and-a-half-year veteran of our agency. He currently has a bachelor's degree with Central Connecticut State University in criminology. He's currently working on his master's degree in public administration at the University of New Haven. He's been a field training officer for the past 7 years. He specializes in crisis intervention and de-escalation. He's an instructor in domestic violence and an instructor in mental health first aid. He's received an Outstanding Officers Award as well as an Exceptional Duty Award. He received several positive work performances for his exceptional quality of work for his reports and his investigations. He's credited with solving numerous burglaries back in 2018. He's been involved in community relations that include being an advisor to Torrington Police Explorers, helping our youth and our kids that come up and be interested in the law enforcement field. In 2019, he received the Community Outreach Award from Western Connecticut Mental Health Organizations for his outstanding work and commitment in dealing with mental health issues surrounding law enforcement responses. He is currently assigned as the acting sergeant to the evening shift of our agency. Tonight, I'd like to recognize Brandon's mom and dad. There's Tom, Marjorie, his sister Rachel, and fiance Dave, and his brother Brett. Oh, Dinah, I'm sorry, Brett and Brendan, Dinah's children. More importantly, I want to introduce to you his youngest son, Jacob, and his daughter, Kara. So welcome to your father's swearing-in ceremony. With that said, Mayor, if you can administer the.
Yeah, I'm going to take the vote. So, so you heard all the reasons why this promotion is being recommended by the chief. Are there questions from the Board of Safety? Hearing none, all in favor of the promotion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. All right.
The mayor will administer the oath, and Dinah will be coming up to do the official opinion. And Jacob and Kara, can you come up here too?
And that you will uphold the Constitution and the laws thereof, that you will faithfully and impartially discharge according to God the duties of the office of Sergeant on the chief board of the city of Torrington, and in doing so, you will obey and be bound by the rules and regulations of the government and of the law. Okay. These are happy things we need to do. Item 5 on our agenda, I will entertain a motion to accept the chief Alderman's report.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Kennedy, seconded by Commissioner Mayhew. Any questions or comments?
Chief, I got a couple questions on overtime. Just explain what's driving it and what's short-handed. I see the demonstration of black protest there. It drove our overtime up. Yep. Should we put ordinance in place where it needs to go permit and pay for officers if you want to protest for?
Yeah, I'm in discussions with Mayor Carbone concerning initiating an ordinance that would go through, I believe, Councilman Rubino, ma'am.
Yes.
So that is something we are absolutely exploring and being very serious to help offset some of these costs and get permits for these types of situations. You are correct, but one of the things that has driven my overtime have been those rallies that continue to drive everybody's overtime off throughout the state. And to your other point, it is the vacancies. I'm down approximately 14 people right now, so we are that's causing some overtime spikes.
So to have a protest or demonstration, you have to pull a permit?
Not yet,
Not yet.
but I think there's certain requirements through the city charter. But I believe that, for example, if they're going, I believe they have to use the Co-Park Civic Center, the actual facility or the building. There's fees associated with that. Mary, you may be able to answer that better than I can. I'm not quite sure what that would be. But as far as actually using the Co-Park, a public park or public facility, I don't believe there's any permit at this point. But that's something we are exploring and we're looking at.
Because I was looking at the overtime, it's like $67 to $101 an hour in that officer there. 25 officers, it adds up quick. I would just like to make a point that there were two demonstrations that helped to be fair to both sides. I mean, not that it didn't drive up the overtime, but both times, but I do want it to be pinned on one of them, that's all.
There's actually, there were two large ones and,
Right, exactly.
and one small one.
I just wanted to make a point that I didn't want to make it look like one group is opposed to the other, just cause it.
I mean, in general.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I understand that, but it was mentioned that way, so I just wanted to put that.
And very honestly, this has come up in the past, you know, it had nothing to do with the more recent requests for rallies with regard to Black Lives Matter or, you know, the pro-police rallies. We've had ones in the past for other reasons. We've never had a permitting process. It's always something that we talked about, but we never really came down to what is the point, what's a reasonable fee, you know, but more than anything, what we learned from these rallies, regardless whether it's for supporting our troops or supporting food security or something more emotional. It's important that our police department and our fire department are well prepared for that. I mean, one would guarantee that that happens is if there's a permit and you know that it happened. And I think that's, to Commissioner Benedetto's point, I think that's half of that being prepared.
I wouldn't have a problem with permit, but I wouldn't want any type of cost stifling the opportunity for citizens, whatever the cost is. I don't care what the cost is. I mean, it can't be for every time, you know, like a red light or something. But I mean, you know, I wouldn't want to stifle for citizens to be able to use the park and be able to protest whatever.
Yeah. If it's any event that is scheduled to occur at Copart, and it requires that the restrooms are open and the building be accessible, there are fees that go with that. You know, obviously separate and apart from any permit. There are a few other, several other municipalities that are using permitting programs. We can take from their lead how they do that, but they're, you know, again, the important thing is that we're appropriately prepared and know what they're happening. It's kind of unsettling when you find out there's a group of people, you know, on the corner of one of the streets or in front of City Hall, and nobody was aware that that was going to happen. You know, we're lucky; those have never been, you know, too terribly onerous, but a permitting process, I think, will exist. And it will guarantee that whoever wishes to hold an event in the park has almost exclusive control of that park. You know, so it also guarantees a little bit of cheerful that can be under.
And that's a lot of resources to pull on the police department. 25 guys is.
There's no question. And again, a lot of it has to do with the intelligence we receive, what kind of, it's better to be prepared than not prepared. And that's what it's all about. And unfortunately, it does drive up costs.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chief. If I'm understanding correctly, the whole ideal of the permit is more risk of interest. So you have the appropriate officers on in essence.
Yes, that would be, and that's what had been discussed in prior administration. It's about preparedness. And to Commissioner Brown's point, we don't want to create a permitting process that's so onerous that it discourages people from their right to protest or rally. You know, so there are some municipalities where the permit is, there's no fee for the permit, but if you rally or gather without pulling the permit, then there's a permit.
So with that fine as well, who would be the recipient of that fine? If it's just as an operation of 20 people who are getting together to protest whatever, how do you identify the source of who would be culpable for the fine?
Those are the things that the city council and the ordinance committee would have to, you know, clarify. I think, you know, with social media, those organizers you can pretty much tell who's organizing them. or issue we get right to that core group. So those are the things I think. It's not that the ordinance committee is going to make this proposal, and it becomes adopted, it will be vetted by other process before actually speak, and give us some guidance of what their expectations are.
Yeah, coming back to the overtime part of the question, would knowing the events are going to be happening help you allocate where the overtime can be distributed, or will it just allow us to be prepared to know that there's going to be X number of hours in the month?
We know in advance now without the ordinance when an event is taking place. Generally, fortunately, for these last three, the two larger ones and the smaller one, there was an event organizer that we were in contact with, and we were aware that they were anticipating. We want to know what the numbers are. They don't. Some knew what the numbers were going to be. Others did not know what the numbers were going to be. So we have to anticipate what the numbers are going to be, the crowd size. So again, it depends upon what the event is going to be. But generally, they're in contact with us concerning any event that is on the horizon or any event that is scheduled. The problem is that we get those that spring it upon us with 1 or 2 days that it makes it very difficult to plan for. So for the responsible individuals that are looking to protest or rally or whatever the case may be, generally reach out to the appropriate authorities to let them know, hey, listen, this is what we're planning, and we have discussions and we have dialogue so that we know what to anticipate or what to expect, even though there's still an unknown. What's difficult is, as I stated, is when they say, hey, listen, tomorrow morning we're having a rally. We got, it's all over Facebook. And that was a potential issue that we were going to have this past weekend where we knew nothing about it and something just popped up. And fortunately, it never materialized. I don't know if I answered your question. You did.
This could be a celebration too.
Absolutely.
I don't want to put a negative tone on this.
We've had high school kids, that have done that. They watch a march and, celebration of something. It's really just about knowing, who, how many, and if it weren't for the social media aspect, where really the unknown is who's coming from outside the community for these events, that's the real piece for us. I'm sure for the chief when you talk about being prepared.
That drives our numbers is when we monitor and we look at the intelligence as it relates to these protests, and social media is a very big part of it, and we monitor the pros and the pro ralliers and the anti people, and we end up that kind of drives. And we look at their histories. We know their histories. We know what they've been involved in. I'm in touch with other chiefs, other cities, other towns, so that we can be prepared for what they dealt with. When we had our rallies, other departments and agencies were up here in our town looking to see how we dealt with it so that they can be prepared. So there's a huge networking of how to handle and deal with these events. And and really, if nobody shows up and we have X number of officers there, the commanding officer of the event will start releasing people and sending them home. So we're not holding on to that as a cost savings measure. So, so we're always looking at that. Obviously, we're always looking at the bottom line and what the cost is going to be associated with this.
Thank you. So on that overtime topic, how is the hiring process going and where do we stand right now?
Just for rallies or just for?
No, just for the overtime, filling positions and manpower.
The overtime is high. I'll tell you it's high. Officers are getting, I think I'm seeing them, and that's why I'm really trying to push the recruiting and trying to get people hired and bring my numbers back up to where they belong, because I see and I'm fearful that the officers are starting to get burned out a little bit. So there's definitely a concern about it. But again, the supervisors pay attention to the hours worked. We have a minimum or a maximum number of hours that our officers can work. So they're held to that. They need their rest. So we pay attention to that. But there are situations where, you know, officers are being ordered in. And quite honestly, you know, that's not something they enjoy. Because it's voluntary first, and then when we can't get those filled, we have to start ordering in. So there is that is happening. There's quite frequently.
So how many officers are we down now?
We're down, well, with the injuries and vacancies, we're down between 12 and 14.
In any academy seats?
We have 2 officers in the academy right now that are expected to graduate in mid-November. We have 1 officer who just graduated the academy. There was some training issues that weren't significant, and she's beginning her FTO program starting Monday. I was going to comment later on, but I'll say now the mayor will be swearing in a young individual on Tuesday to start the academy on the 11th in Meriden. But it takes time. I mean, the problem is too is that once they graduate, the academy takes time, and then the FTO program takes time. So they're not now. So they're off for a good 8 months, 8-9 months until they're useful.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for the chief on his report? Right.
I have a question. Sorry. With like the governor's orders about people coming in from out of state, outside of the tri-state area, where they have to do the field testing and all that, if they're coming in for Senate rallies, how is that enforced? I know it's empty here for greater than 24 hours, but along those lines, for the general principle, is there any enforcement direction you can give them?
Very honestly, no. The people that are, when you're dealing with large crowds such as that, for example, I was at the opioid or the overdose awareness vigil at Cove Park the other night. It was a large crowd, and they were policing themselves. And again, it depends upon who's at the rally. Those people that are going to, if it's an organized rally, those people are going to make sure that they adhere to the rules. So I was watching as people who were not masked, people within the rally that would ask them or hand them a mask to wear. As far as other larger events that may be a little bit more of a protest, it's difficult to, because of the numbers of people that are at these rallies, we can't go up to each individual to determine if they are out of state and ask them for identification if all they're doing is they're peacefully assembling. It makes it very difficult. We do frequently will ask them to mask up or to put a mask on. But one of the things, and Deputy Chief Triple can probably agree to, is that there's been a lot of confliction as far as how to enforce some of these things from the state. So it makes it very difficult to do that. But Torrington Area Health is our enforcement arm for social distancing and wearing masks. So they generally are the ones that will step up for businesses and that type of thing. But for these rallies, that is an issue. It's a problem.
Thank you. Now, question thought came to my head as I was driving around today, and noticed countless out-of-state plates outside of the tri-state area, be it Pennsylvania, old plates. Is that some sort of a trigger that says, hey, I'm going to go check these people to make sure that they filled out the form? And I'm being incredibly sarcastic. I disagree with the fact that they would need to do that immensely. But that, I don't follow how that's going to be enforceable from the governor's mandates.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I don't follow it either. I mean, and most administrators in the police field, it makes it very difficult to do. We can't do that.
Yeah, you hear about in the paper about somebody is being fined because they didn't adhere to doing the testing prior to coming to the state from X, Y, and Z state. How does that person then get identified? Is it just, in essence, somebody pointing them out and saying, hey, Joe didn't come in appropriately, hypothetically?
Trust me, they do. We get complaints frequently. Torrington Area Health, my office, and the police department receive those complaints frequently. So, and it is, it's one of those things where if it's complaint driven, you write a letter to the business to say, we need you to comply with this executive order, or an individual who may be here from another state that's supposed to be self-reporting and then quarantining. But really, there's no no teeth to any of those executive orders as far as enforcement is concerned.
And the fines are generally administered at the airports, and that's where they're finding people. So.
I just want to give a personal side on that. I just got back from Delaware. Okay.
No, it's like that was not on the list.
It was off the list, okay? I mean, it was on the list before. But I just want to just touch base with what Commissioner Van was saying, though. I think any directive is good, because if anybody follows it, it's better than if there was no directive. Now, in my particular case, if it was on the list, I was still going, and I would have got a COVID test when I got back. If there wasn't a list and there wasn't a directive, would I have gotten one? I don't know. I think I probably would have, because I think both chiefs might have got on my case. You know, but you know what I'm trying to say. If there's a directive out there, if you get 10% of people doing it, that's more than you would have had. And I agree, it's how to enforce it, but at the same time, and just to touch on that, the 2 towns that I went to, which are beach towns, down there, they had huge digital signs as you pulled in to the area. Face mask mandatory, and that means you. And everybody did. I mean, I saw very few people that did. I'm talking very few. So
I think for the most part, people are complying.
no, that's just my personal experience. And I really plan on having to go get a rapid test. Yeah. So.
All right. Final call for questions on the police chief's report. You're good? All right, then I'm going to call a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, I'll entertain a motion to accept traffic operations unit report.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Van, second by Commissioner Van. Questions on the report?
Chief, I'm sorry,
No.
are blue letters, are they effective? Are we getting any money through the blue letters?
Yeah, Officer Pizarski will send the letters out that their vehicle will be booted, and it is effective, yes. Which will generally, and he's not afraid to use the boot either. Put it on. So.
We're listening.
Other questions on the traffic unit report? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, I'll entertain a motion to accept Fire Chief Talbot's report.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Van, second by Commissioner Clark. Questions on the motion?
Can we direct them towards the deputy?
Yes.
Just a question of lockouts. I've seen the fire department, they're going on so many lockouts, non-medical. Summer Street, YMCA, just Sunday you went to the YMCA, non-medical. Why is that the fire department's responsibility?
So basically, when they call in the LCD, we won't go for just a regular lockout if somebody can't get into their apartment. But if there's medication or they say the stove's left on, some kind of safety issue or health issue, that's when we'll go and assist them. We're supposed to be checking proper IDs. Let's look for medication just to verify that this is why we were called. Last month, the chief had the report numbers for you. I gave them to him, and you never asked. I don't have them tonight, so I can't go over those with you. But that's the reason why we're being called. So we have looked into that. And unfortunately, it's not the same apartment. So 52 Summer Street is working source. So it could be a different floor, different apartment that's making these calls. So it's not a repetitious customer.
So why are we sending 4 guys? And can they have a supervisor in that building, or have somebody designated holding keys?
Well, Torrington Housing Authority's got to deal with that. They're not with us, so we try and coordinate with them, say, hey, is there maintenance on scene that they can let these people in? Unfortunately, they call 911 and we get the call.
But can't you deny that?
Could, sure.
And turn it to the proper authority, say you have to call the Torrington Housing Authority and have them answer that call. Because I'm hearing that people aren't too nice to our firefighters or captains.
No, I haven't had to reach my office saying that, because we will address that if that's the case. But.
So if they're not appreciated,
Absolutely.
Okay, just checking.
What's that saying? No good deed goes unpunished?
Yeah.
Other questions on Chief Talbot's report? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, I'll entertain a motion to accept Deputy Fire Chief Tripp's report.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Vandedo, second by Commissioner Albert. Questions on the report?
With that equipment update, any issues?
For equipment, we are having a lot of apparatus issues. We've been actually borrowing Torrington's engine 17. It's been off the hill a few times for us. Engine 2 is supposed to be coming back today. They had a control issue on the pump panel. They had a node went in that put a program that that's actually done in County Night Watertown. I was hoping to get the phone call today. So that should be back tomorrow on that issue. We were at a fire. They went to the pump, they were first in, and the pump didn't work. So the county chief kind of called for backup, and we were okay. I mean, it was a small fire, we were able to get it. But that initial shock of my pump's down, and so that's what was the key. And it would work 100 times, but just that one time you needed it, it wouldn't work. So that's why I was taking out of service. Other than that, we're pretty much in service with everything. Truck, engine 4, everything's good.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Deputy Chief? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 9, I'll entertain a motion to accept training officer Shelby's report.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Vandedo, second by Commissioner Vandedo. Questions on this report?
Deputy, just have a quick question. Hopefully you may have answered. I'm looking at this report and I'm reading pre-qualified completed interior firefighters. Maybe the commissioners of Torrington can help on this one. Does that mean now there's a total of 6 in 24 that are interior? Is that the way that's written? 3 qualified completed, do we not have 6?
No, what that's saying, so the 3 qualified completed, so there's 3 qualified interior firefighters in Torrington. And Drakeville has, which is black helmets. So there's 3 black helmets in Torrington, there's 6 black helmets in Drakeville. The 6 and 9 is the amount of hours that those 3 completed, whether one person completed 6 or the 3 played 2 each, whatever, that's 6 total hours for the month for those 3 individuals.
Other questions on the report? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, I'll entertain a motion to accept the emergency management report.
So moved.
Commissioner Hamilton, second. And second by Commissioner Montgomery. Questions on the report? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 11, I'll entertain a motion to accept the fire marshal's report.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Vandedo, second by Commissioner McLeod. Questions on the report?
Just a quick question. What actually happened in Tucker Drive there with the incendiary fire?
Okay. I was briefed on that fire. Let me get to it real quick.
And that's when they, is that when they?
Yeah, so what happened, the engine crew showed up at Tucker Drive, Curry Terrace, and for the smoke. And what they encountered was somebody lighting pizza boxes on fire and threw them in the hallway, totally naked. And they were throwing water at my guys, and the lieutenant just backed right off, giving the PD here. There's a warrant out for the arrest as an incendiary fire, which means it's intentionally started, and the detectives have it, and they're pursuing that on their end.
Other questions on the report? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 12, I'll entertain a motion to accept the EMS provider activity report.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Commissioner Vandedo, and second by Commissioner Henry. Questions on the report? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, I'll entertain a motion to consider business by volunteer fire departments.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Vandedo, second by Commissioner McLeod. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We have.
So at Drakeville, we had quite a busy August. And a couple of weeks ago, or about 2 weeks ago almost now. Our tanker went down. We were on call to North Fork. Our guy was driving it, and all of a sudden lost all power. It's a manufacturer, I don't want to say defect, a manufacturer issue, where the exhaust leaked onto a couple of wiring harnesses, and so it melted the wiring harnesses. We had the tanker's been out of service since not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before. It's down at Nutmeg right now. Getting the rollers, international deal, we're getting worked on. Unfortunately, we're talking like $8,900 to get it fixed. I know the chief is working with through the city to try to get funding to be able to pay for that. That's not something obviously we would pay for it if we absolutely had to, but they're cutting in a quarter of our savings at this point, and a quarter of our savings again budget for the rest of the year. So, if anyone wants to look at the quote, I do have it here. If anyone would like to see it, the chiefs have it already, and they know about what's going on. So that's that. We probably won't get it back for at least another 2 weeks, possibly more, dependent on the wiring. One of the wiring harnesses is $4,000. It's made to order, so they have to build it and ship it there and verify it's right before we can definitely know when we're going to get it back.
So it's a manufacturing defect, they don't stand behind that?
Again, I don't want to say it's a defect. It's an issue that they consistently have. They don't, from what I'm talking to the dealer down there, they said they don't normally cover it, and it hasn't been a recall, but they do, if someone's in the area, they do start swapping parts out. I don't know, I did ask the chiefs to look into, there was supposed to be a 10-year warranty on the tanker from VTech. I did ask them to look into that because I don't believe we ever got any of that information. And we also didn't purchase it, so we can't go after through the warranty that way. So I did ask them to look into that as well.
So have you called the manufacturer yet?
I have not. We're seeing if Emil has all the.
Oh, he does all that.
Yeah. So Emil and purchasing agents are following all of that. Thank you.
So the other thing is for us is we are continuing to try to fundraise. On September 19th, we are having our pastas dinner. We are going to do social distancing. We're opening up our whole firehouse, all the bays of our firehouse, 50% capacity as much as possible, and or takeout. If someone wants to come and drive up, we'll deliver it out to their vehicles. So if you would like to come up and support us, please do so. And I know that the Torrington Fire Department has shared it on their page and Facebook, and if we can just get it out there as much as possible, so that way we can try to recoup some of the previous losses from fundraising. That's all I have at this moment.
Maybe a couple signs out in front of our fire department, to let people know that are on Facebook.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'll try to get some signs together.
Thank you, Chief.
We have one young gentleman going to school for Fire One. So we can find trees. We're going to sell trees again this year. We need money. And we can put our first to get stuff up on our sign in front. But we have a car show for us. We can say it's a protest. Get some new cars. We're going to bring his wife. So.
Pull the permit.
It's tough. I am glad to hear that you're looking for the trees, though.
We could find them.
Trying to figure out where I was going to get mine this year. All right, moving into item number 14, I will entertain a motion to consider business by department heads.
So,
Second by Commissioner Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chief Baldwin, anything you need to add this evening?
Sure. First, again, August has been a pretty busy month for us. On a lighter note, I'm sure Deputy Chief Tripp will be doing the same, but we want to thank Ocean State Job Lot for their donation to both police and fire of PPE and a hand sanitizer Again, it was absolutely appreciated that they went out of their way to do that for us. So we're very grateful for them, for their donation. I also want to make note that I've been working with the McCall Group and Charlotte Hungerford Hospital regarding the opioid issues within our community. McCall hired a individual by the name of Anthony Lawson, who is working out of Charlotte Hungerford Hospital, who is going to be a benefit to us as it relates to dealing with opioid-related calls that we go on. And some mental health issues, not all mental health issues. So Anthony is going to be a resource for us where he's going to connect with these individuals and try to get them the help that they need or try to connect them to different services within the community. As I mentioned earlier, I was at the overdose awareness vigil at Cole Park, very well attended. Many different vendors there offering assistance to our community. A lot of people who were victims of having loved ones who have passed away as a result of an overdose. It was very well organized, and again, many thanks to the McCall Group and Charlotte and all the people that were involved in that situation. On the 27th, we had a fatal accident up on Route 202 in Hasek Road. We have identified a suspect. We know who he is, and we are pursuing him. He is wanted by us, and he's extraditable throughout our country for current violations that he has. That's not related to this, but he's still at large, and we're still looking for him. Our officers did an excellent job at that accident scene. I want to thank the fire department for their assistance, for being there with the extrication. Again, the relationship between us and the fire department is fantastic. I also want to thank Torrington, their fire police, came all the way out to the town line, and they assisted us with traffic as the road was closed for a period of time. Again, my serious appreciation to them for helping us out on that type of situation. Their services are invaluable, so I want to thank you for that. As Chief Tripp mentioned, the arson investigation is ongoing. I want to especially commend Sergeant Maiga, Officer Lettieri, and Officer Yabrowski, who were at that scene up at Michael Corey Terrace, where again it was an individual who was threatening the firefighters. Again, the firefighters also assisted us. We assisted them, they assisted us at that scene. My great heartfelt thanks to the fire department as well. I also want to mention that the police department's detective division has been really stepping up lately. They've been extremely busy. We've been having some serious issues, what you'd be considered criminal issues within our community. The Bureau is, I'd love to, as manpower permits, I'd love to obviously beef that unit up. Unfortunately, that's just not the case at this point, but what we have now, the detectives that are in there now are doing an excellent job, and their investigations, their follow-up, they're delving into a lot of different areas and avenues of different crimes that have been occurring within our city. And again, my heartfelt thanks to Lieutenant Johnson, who's leading that bureau, the two sergeants and the detectives that are in that bureau. So they're doing a great job. Some of the things that we've had, failed attempts at the ATM theft on the Winstead Road. That is a regional thing that's happening throughout the state, where individuals are breaking into businesses and trying to steal the ATMs. Again, our bureau is investigating that. So we had a serious assault back on the 11th on North Elm Street. That incident remains under investigation. Again, our bureau continues to investigate that. Our bureau is also working with the FBI, our Computer Crimes Task Force, the city regarding the city's computer issue regarding the ransomware attack that we recently were a victim of. We're working with Kerma and their partners to try and identify the source of where this attack had come from. So that's continuing on. Will be Chief Towie and myself. Chief Towie's reached out to me regarding the 9/11 ceremony. Chief Tripp will probably have more on that than I I do right now, but we will have I'll let you speak to that, Chief. But we'll be working on the 9/11 ceremony that's coming up. Also, PAL, as is everybody else, everything's been shut down throughout our city as far as events are concerned. PAL is moving forward with their golf tournament at the end of the month, which will be September 28th. We're hoping that we'll have a good turnout for that. Commissioner McElroy, at the last meeting, you spoke about a stop sign that was down on Hillendale. We took care of that. Should be up and taken care of. I think that's all I have at this point.
Just Chief, the PAL basketball, is that gonna happen?
I think I'll be honest with you, it's in discussion. And there's a lot of restrictions, and I'm not sure how we're going to be able to accommodate everybody. I know Chris Medic is really working hard, and Ralph Calabrese to really try and get that program up and running, but I'll be very honest, I don't know if it's going to get off the ground at this point. Mayor, I don't know if you...
Yeah, I'm just looking at my email because the Park and Rec Commission was meeting about this evening. Torrington Area Health District is providing us guidance on these kinds of events. And they have great reluctance to advise us to move forward with this. We are still limited to only 25 individuals in an indoor setting. And in a sport like basketball, masks is, an important piece to being able to do that safely. With basketball, there's 5 on a team, there's coaches, it's just too much, and Torrington Area Health did not advise against it, but told us that it was very complicated to move forward with that. So Brett Simmons and the Park and Rec did meet this evening, and they are holding off approving any use of the armory for those games. And the schools are not utilizing their gyms for any of the non-school sanctions team activities. So yeah, I'm disappointed. I think as anybody whose kids have ever played basketball, boys or girls, our kids have been pretty much homebound for 6 months. Anything we can do to get them outside and active and exercising is what we want to do. But I think basketball is just not in the cards, at least for the next few weeks. Once the governor releases his phase 3 reopening plan, we'll be able to make better system.
Did Mayor Powell kind of blame youth sports for one of the reasons that the uptick in gambling?
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if that was basketball, baseball, whatever, but
Yeah, soccer.
too many parents at the games. I
If
think
the parents just sat there quietly, that would happen, right?
not the kids, it's parents at the games,
It is, it's tough, because we all want to see these kids playing, and especially the PAL program. It's just health first. And to be honest with you, even with the schools taking great measures to keep kids in cohorts, there's the A through L kids in school Monday, Tuesday. They're trying to keep them, separated from all the other kids. If we then run a sports program after school and all the kids are all together, all their efforts are kind of wasted, for the lack of a better word. So we were also very cognizant of the fact that the schools are working very hard to keep their students safe and their staff safe. So we'll wait.
I have a 2-part question for you, Chief. As you mentioned, the opioid overdoses that were occurring, do you see any correlation to limitations of recovery means with AA and any along those lines due to the fact that people can't gather due to the governor's regulations? In addition to that, how would you say the overdoses compare to where they were, say, this time last year, from, say, March to August?
As far as your question to that, I couldn't answer that question. That would be for the organizations that are like McCall Group or these organizations that are dealing with the recovery and that type of thing. So I don't know. I would assume that there is a problem with that. I know that there are one-on-one meetings taking place between counselors and victims or people that are suffering. But as far as the group setting is concerned, I'm sure there are group settings taking place so long as they adhere to the guidelines that have been set forth by the governor regarding social distancing and that type of thing. But I don't have a concrete answer for you on that. What was the other one?
How would you say the overdoses compare to the same time frame of last year, the year prior?
Last year, we had a total of 29 deaths as a result of overdoses. And this year, we are at, we're at 18.
And that's just purely on the death side of it. But when you look at just, you can say the calls for an overdose.
Total overdoses so far this year are 98.
Yeah. Those are just the ones, in essence, reported.
I'm sorry, sir?
Those are just the ones that are reported ultimately. Yeah.
Those are the ones that we respond to.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions for the chief? Deputy Chief, for anything?
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. In your packets, there was a thank you letter and a picture. This is the actual work of art that she knitted for us or made for us. We're going to hang it in the firehouse. So she's very appreciative. They offered to donate money for equipment, but we're not going to obviously do that. But we did upgrade our equipment after that call. We were able to purchase some newer sleds, and some newer slings and equipment that we're going to need as a result of the fur pond incident. Other thank yous that we have to do are Merleys and ONG. The state of Connecticut came out, Fire Academy came out, did some heavy rescue training for us, stabilization. As part of the region plan, we got this new equipment for commercial vehicles and heavy vehicles. And they come out and had shift training with them 2 days of that, and Merleys and ONG helped us out graciously, like they always do. So we got them some certificates. We're going to give to them to hang on the wall as appreciation of thanks from the fire department. Ocean State, like the chief said, on behalf of the fire department, thank you also. I won't get into cover everything there. Next week is going to be a busy week for us in our community, and each of these you're all invited to. Starting Tuesday is our first live burn of the Bushwick County Regional Fire School. We have that Tuesday and Thursday, where we send the 2 shifts off duty up. It's one of the Chief Dowie's biggest things. He came in here to try and keep our annual training, get them off duty so we can get together, not worry about calls and be overworked. So that's Tuesday and Thursday. The 9th, Wednesday night the 9th, is our FSCC meeting, fire headquarters at 6:30. We canceled the last meeting, but we're getting together this meeting. One of the discussions I can tell you is going to be the exterior yellow helmet qualifications and when they're able to get on the fire scene to help us out. So we're going to just discuss that. 9/11 is on Friday. Chief Ballman, I mentioned it. This year, and it's not just this year, we have in the past, but this year particularly due to COVID, it's going to be for uniformed personnel only. So it'll be TPD, DFD, and Trinity coming out. We got it all. It's all been measured already, so we know the capacities. And we're actually thinking about doing a Facebook Live on our page, which we've never done before. So actually people can see the ceremony live on Facebook, which I think is pretty good. Firefighter Price does a great job with that. So he's going to spearhead that again. And that's going to be on Friday. Another thing that Chief Tower just wanted to remind everybody, when we do get back together, we're going to have a big awards night. They're all piling up from all the way back from the Burr Pond incident in February, and a couple of fires that we had, a couple of lifesaver CPR rescues that we had. So it's going to be one night where you'll know well in advance so families can come and appreciate it. Unfortunately, the setting will overwhelm that 25 persons in a heartbeat. So we're waiting to to do that on one shot.
You call it a wedding, and now it's 100.
Oh, there you go. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions? Anything from Trenton this evening?
No, just anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Jeff Ganon, and I've been with Camden for quite a while, and now with Trinity. We've been working with the fire department since I came on as manager. Really been a lot more involved in training. Something we want to continue. So we've incorporated that with the fire department and continue to do that. I think that's been about it. It's been a pretty tough couple of 6 months, with this whole COVID thing, but hopefully we're on a downward spiral here and we'll continue to get through it. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? All right. Moving to item 15. I'll entertain a motion to consider business by the mayor and members of the safety.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Penfield, second by Commissioner Calvert, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Starting out by ready with Commissioner Bingham.
I just continue to have the concern of the extension of phase 2, and from was it February 9th that we extended to from the announcement before it reopens everything. It's just incredibly frustrating from a professional standpoint that businesses are being shut down without any real directions how they can reopen. I look at this from the theater aspect, and look at the Warner Theater and any other small community theater aspect, that they cannot do rehearsals, they cannot do any preparedness for when they are able to reopen. And just that continual lack of direction that we have from the governor's office. And that's, to me, very frustrating. I am very grateful for the chiefs all involved, Berlin and Torrington, and how you all responded to everything. Cannot thank you enough for your communication and just your continuance. And I'm blessed and grateful to be a resident of Torrington, so thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Calvert.
Chief, I had a concern from a taxpayer about the intersection of Mountain Road and Marshall Lake. I guess coming from Norfolk Road east, there's stop signs on Marshall Lake, but there's nothing on Mountain Road. So when you come to the stop sign at the corner of Marshall Lake and Mountain Road, the stop sign and stop line, I went up there to look at it myself, is back kind of far. There's a lot of trees and stuff, so you have to creep all the way out after stopping to even see if anybody's coming on Mountain Road. Any way of looking into maybe a four-way stop sign there in that area?
I'll refer to officers.
Other than that, I just want to say thank you to the fire department, the police department, for everything, volunteers, Trinity. Appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you, Commissioner Penfield.
It's for Chief Baldwin. Can you let me know or tell me how people are allowed to take body cam footage? So if you release that to the public?
Yeah, they have to submit a FOIA request. It's through Freedom of Information. So there's a procedure. There's a form that's got to be filled out. It is reviewed by our personnel department, who's the FOIA. She's in charge of FOIA for the city. And then if it's an investigation that is ongoing or continuing, it will more than likely not be released, but it'll be an after the fact situation. It can be released. There are fees and costs associated with that as well.
Because I explored some YouTube videos of Torrington police body cam footage, and they were concerned, of this stuff getting leaked out.
Once an individual receives a video from us through the legal means, there's no recourse. There's no way to hold that back.
So just go through the process, and
yes,
they don't have to have a reason. They just
realistically, no. It's all public record, quite frankly. Yeah.
Okay. Another thing, on French Street, High Street, and Funston Avenue, there's issues with dirt bikes and quads on the road. they've called the station, it's taken officers either are tied up, other calls, or it's not a priority, to get out to that scene, and the guys, the kids, guys, or whoever's on them are gone, and they're raising havoc up there on those 3 streets, and they want to know if there was an ordinance. I told them, not registered, they can't be on the railroad. So they want to know if they can get patrols up there once in a while to see if there's something they can do. One officer says they can't chase them, so there's really not much they can do.
I'm nodding in agreement. We will send officers over. We also, the mayor mentioned that we're having similar issues over at Wolcott Avenue. So patrols are aware of it, and they are.
So what's an officer do when they encounter illegal bikes on the road?
One officer can make an attempt to try and stop them and have a conversation with them, and potentially can issue a infraction for operating unregistered or an improper use of a motor vehicle on a highway. But again, you got to weigh the liability that's associated with this. And if you're talking about kids that are on dirt bikes or quads, the last thing we want to do is have them hit a telephone pole and we got an issue because they're running on us. Yes, it's a nuisance, and there may be ways that we might be able to combat that or restrict that. But we're aware of it. It's something that we would love to deal with, but there's risk factors that are involved with it.
I know the big cities are having big issues with
Yes.
that too, in Rutherford. And from July 1, we had that big hour.
Yes.
Very concerning.
Yes.
And I had to bring that up. And I'd just like to thank the volunteers, camping ambulance, fire department, police department for all your help in the hurricane there we had, the last storms. You guys handled it very well. Thank you.
Commissioner McCollum.
I just wanted to congratulate Sergeant Kelly for this promotion. Sounds like a great candidate, a good future within your department, hopefully. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bell.
Also, congratulations to Sergeant Kelly, and thank you as always.
So I'll just add to the commissioners, you heard Chief Baldwin touch a little bit on the recent computer attack that the city was subjected to. I want to express my own gratitude and share with the board how tremendous the police department has been and the fire department in helping us to make our way through all of this. Detective DeBlane, Lieutenant Johnson were just amazing. They were there and they were, taking all of the information as we were receiving it. And I think that's so important if there's any possibility of being able to track how this happened or who is responsible, having them on the ground floor. The IT engineers that were brought in to assist us, I think they spent 99% of their time at the firehouse. And our fire department took very good care of them. They were brilliant and very fast working, but obviously, when they're in a location where they have access to what they need, and they're being well taken care of, well fed, it seems like they work better. So I did want to share with the board that that's the kind of hospitality and cooperation that gets us to a better result on what was and continues to be an investigation, but is most unpleasant. I'd also like to share with this board, when we talk about the enforcement of executive orders, and particularly masks, our Torrington Area Health District is responsible for any complaints regarding masks in restaurants or those public places where they are health related. However, complaints about somebody not wearing a mask at Walmart or Big Lots or Ocean State Job Lot, those complaints are coming into the police department, into my office. We have developed a letter, sort of a 3 strikes you're out kind of situation. We don't want to punish our businesses. They're doing everything within their power to, to stay open and stay viable. So our approach is this, gentle nudge, hey, here's executive order. Please reacquaint your staff with the requirements of mask wearing and social distancing. And then if further complaints or further violations occur, we'll probably make a point to do a visit to that business. So we're just trying to find that kind of gentle way to get businesses to work with us to enforce this, recognizing these are difficult times. So that's something that I am working on, and National Night Out, that Commissioner Benedict was asking me about it a little bit earlier. National Night Out is usually the first Tuesday of August. And the national organization delayed or asked all the municipalities that observe National Night Out to consider delaying it to October 6th. So right now, we're fingers crossed, October 6th is something that we can do. In the meantime, there is a move afoot across the country where neighborhoods, and especially those neighborhoods where there are neighborhood watches, are displaying their support of our police departments by replacing their porch lights with a blue light bulb. So I have some blue light bulbs in my office. I've ordered 100 of them. We've been in touch with all of our neighborhood captains to offer them an opportunity to get their neighborhood organized. If any of you after the meeting want to step up to my office, I can get you a bulb. But it is just one way for us to, while we're not able to observe all of those celebrations and all of those neighborhoods that do such good work. When we talk about those quads and those strip lights, again, I want to push it back to those neighborhood watches. Those lights are coming from somewhere. Those quads are coming from somewhere. And if the neighborhood watch can tell us where they're coming from, it's a little bit easier. We're not chasing these kids and putting them at risk of an accident. But then we can go and deal with them directly, right here in the neighborhood. So it's just a little measure that we can do to keep our neighborhood watches engaged and show our support to the men and women that serve our community.
That's called old policing. When the chief Baldwin was on tour, the police come, they wait for your house.
That's right.
That's how I used to work in Torrington.
What do you mean your son's not here? Well, wait. That never happened to my boys. I guess there's no further business before the board, so I will entertain the motion to adjourn.
So, second.
Commissioner Bonzo, second by Commissioner Cloud, all in favor? Any opposed? We are adjourned.